On paper, this looks like a slam dunk. Russia, a military partner for decades, offers India its advanced Su-35 fighter. It's powerful, it's ready to go, and the price seems right. But in a move that's catching a lot of people by surprise, India is basically saying no thanks. So what is really going on here? Well, the answer tells us a whole lot about a massive shift in India's strategy for the future. So that's the real mystery we're unpacking. Why would the Indian Air Force, which seriously needs to beef up its squadrons, turn its back on a very capable jet from a partner it's trusted for generations? The thing is, this isn't some rash decision. It's a calculated move based on tech, logistics, and a completely new way of thinking about the future. Okay, so to really get what's going on in India's head, the first thing we gotta do is pop the hood and look at the technology. Because in modern air combat, what's inside the jet is every bit as important as the airframe itself, maybe even more so. And there's one piece of tech that's become the gold standard.
And that standard is AESA radar. That stands for Active Electronically Scanned Array. Just think of it as the fighter's eyes and brain all rolled into one. Unlike older systems, AESA can track a ton of targets at once with incredible precision, and it's super, super hard to jam. Let's be real, in today's world, if you don't have AESA, you're already playing catch-up. And right here, we hit the first big snag for the Su-35. It uses an older piece of radar. Now, this makes it way more vulnerable to electronic warfare and just not as good at keeping tabs on multiple threats. For an Air Force that's planning for the next 30 years, buying a brand new jet without AESA radar, that's kind of like buying a top-of-the-line smartphone that can't connect to 5G. It's just a non-starter right out of the gate. But look, the technology gap, that's really only part one of this story. This decision is also about what India already has sitting in its hangars. And this is where the argument against buying the Su-35 gets even more compelling. See, the Indian Air Force has a massive fleet, and I mean massive, of the Sukhoi Su-30 MKI. This jet is the absolute backbone of its entire fighter force. And it happens to be a very, very close cousin to the Su-35. This is a crucial piece of context. Why would you go out and buy a slightly different version of a jet you already have hundreds of? And here's the kicker. India isn't just letting its current fleet sit there. Oh no! There's a huge modernization plan called the Super 30 program. The plan is to upgrade at least 84 of these Su-30s with cutting-edge electronics, new weapons, and, you guessed it, brand new modern AESA radars. They're basically taking the jets they already own and turning them into something even better than a stock Su-35. So when you actually lay it all out, side by side, the choice becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? Upgrading the jets they already have is way more cost-effective. It uses the training programs and the maintenance crews and the supply chains India has already built over decades. So why would you create a logistical nightmare with a whole new jet just for a tiny little bump in performance? It just doesn't add up. And that leads us to what is honestly maybe the biggest reason of all. This isn't just about saying no to a Russian jet. It's about saying yes to an Indian future. We're talking about a massive strategic pivot for the entire country. Make in India. This isn't just some catchy slogan on a poster. This is the real driving force behind India's entire industrial and defense policy right now. The long-term play here is self-reliance, the ability to design, develop, and build its own advanced military gear so it doesn't have to depend on foreign countries anymore. And listen, we're not talking about some far-off fantasy here. These are real projects. You've got the Tejas Mk2, which is a seriously capable 4.5 generation fighter, and then the AMCA, that's the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, a futuristic stealth fighter program. This is where India's focus is. This is where the money and the brainpower are going. Buying the Su-35 would mean pulling precious resources away from the very programs that are meant to secure its future. All right, so for the final piece of this puzzle, we've got to zoom out a bit. Because any huge defense deal like this is also about geopolitics. It's about partnerships. And India's choice here says a lot about its changing place in the world and what it's looking for in an ally these days. And this is where you can really see how the game has changed. For a long time, deals with Russia were pretty straightforward. You buy the jet, that's it. Very little technology transfer. But today, India wants so much more. It doesn't want to just be a customer.
It's looking for deep collaboration, for joint production, for real technology sharing that helps build its own defense industry. And right now, Western partners are putting those kinds of deals on the table. That kind of partnership is priceless. And at the end of the day, a lot of this just boils down to brass tacks, simple, practical logistics. Bringing in another type of aircraft, even one that's similar to the Su-30, means a whole new headache. You need a new supply chain for parts, new maintenance protocols, new training for pilots. At a time when India is trying to simplify its courses and build its own stuff, making things more complicated just doesn't make any sense. So, okay, let's put all these pieces on the table. When you look at the tech, the logistics, the country's own ambitions, and the global politics, the final picture becomes incredibly clear. It's like India has this new strategic checklist it's running every potential deal through. First up, does the tech meet future needs? For the Su-35's radar, that's a no. Next, does it make sense for our existing fleet? Well, upgrading the Su-30s is a much better deal. Third, does it help us become self-reliant? Nope, it actually takes away from that goal. And finally, does the partnership help us grow our own industry? Other partners are offering better deals. The Su-35 just doesn't tick the boxes that matter most to India anymore.
So what looks like a simple no to one airplane is actually a huge declaration about a country's new path forward. It's a signal that India is shifting from just being a buyer to becoming a creator. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question, doesn't it? As India's own ambitions fly higher and higher, who will it choose to be its co-pilots in the future?